Well, here's the question, Stephen A. Smith. Do you think Howard will stay in L.A. after this season?
I'm inclined to believe that he will. And let me say for the record, I'm incredibly proud of him for admitting something that, quite honestly, he needed to admit. The reality of the situation is that Kobe Bryant was never asking him to change who he was as a person. Kobe doesn't care about that. Kobe doesn't judge people like that. What he's asking is that you put the level of tenacity and focus and commitment to your craft that's necessary in order to legitimately compete for world championships. And obviously, he was reminding Dwight Howard and anybody else who would listen that when you're a member of the Purple and Gold, when you're a member of the Lakers organization, that's what you're measured by. And there are tremendous rewards that come with it that elevates your level of glory and enthusiasm and happiness to levels unseen in most places. So anytime you want to sit there and you want to approach somebody like a Dwight Howard with that, it's definitely appropriate to do so. Dwight Howard has never been a bad guy. Dwight Howard has never been somebody that didn't put forth the work and didn't want to be excellent. It's just that his definition of how to go about it was different than somebody tried and tested in a five-time champion like Kobe. And it takes a big man to admit as much, to admit that maybe, just maybe, there was something that this dude knows or knew that I didn't know. And, you know, I give Dwight Howard a lot of credit for that because I don't find him to be this way, but a lot of people would have said in the past he would have never done something like that. So to acknowledge what he's been acknowledging goes a long way towards saying, listen, I know this is where I've got to get to. And more importantly, it acknowledges that he and Kobe, their working relationship isn't nearly as bad as it once was. And I think the combination of all of those things would lend itself towards Dwight Howard realizing that L.A. is probably the best fit for him, and that is where he will remain.
That's good insight, Stephen A., and I appreciate it. While I get tired of these almost daily soul-searching interviews that we have to read again and again and again from Dwight Howard, this one was enlightening. It had some perspective to it because Dwight basically said, and forgive me for paraphrasing, that over the All-Star break, he did a lot of thinking while he was in Houston, and he came to grips with Kobe Bryant. And it sounds like, Stephen A., that Dwight finally woke up and realized how blessed he is, how fortunate he is to be able to play with Kobe Bryant. And he finally accepted that his role is to do only what he does best, which is rebound, block shots. He had 21 rebounds yesterday, 4 block shots, and not be so caught up in how many offensive touches he gets versus how many Kobe gets. Now, it did concern me a little bit that in the same interview he said, well, I've now decided I should get in shape and quit eating candy. And why didn't he get in shape and quit eating candy before the season started? But I'm glad he's starting over now. It's great for the team. He's found his role as well as Steve Nash finding his role as just a spot-up shooter. And yet, Stephen A., long-term for the Lakers, are you sure this is the guy that you want to be the Laker leading the Lakers? Really? I mean, well, the intangibles still seem low to me. No. I still feel a little weakness on his part. Like he's not sure. He's not that comfortable in his own skin yet.
Let me tell you something. There's a couple of things. Number one, that's relatively unfair, and I don't say that with cynicism towards you or anything like that, Skip, but here's why it's unfair. You're measuring him against what you're accustomed to, which is Kobe Bryant in a Lakers uniform. And to be the successor to the Kobe era, obviously Dwight Howard isn't necessarily the man for that. But Dwight Howard isn't necessarily trying to be that. He's just trying to be the best big man in the game. It's up to Mitch Kupchak and the rest of the Lakers to find the other parts to complement what elements he's going to bring to the game. All you can judge Dwight Howard by is who he is and what he's assigned to bring to the table. And I'll tell you something else, piggybacking off of a report that I gave you guys a couple of weeks ago in the aftermath of the All-Star weekend, when I reported about how Greg Popovich really tore into Dwight Howard because he wanted him to come into the game, and Dwight Howard was on the bench. Well, in the aftermath of all of that, I had Dwight Howard's people reach out to me. I had a couple of other people sit there and say, yes, it did happen, but at the same time, Greg Popovich was making a mistake because he kept saying Blake in the play when and because of that, Dwight Howard, it was just a confusion, a mix-up. It wasn't Dwight Howard lounging on the bench, being all lazy and not really focused. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that kind of incident still resonates because Greg Popovich isn't the type of person to just throw an F-bomb out there and then leave it at that. He's very eloquent and very articulate in explaining and really deciphering his ire. So if he had a problem, chances are he said more than the F-bomb to Dwight Howard, and that contributed, along with everything else that was going on in the first half of the season, to Dwight Howard really taking notice and recognizing whether it's Kobe, whether it's Greg Popovich, or anybody else, there may be people looking at me this way. Shaquille O'Neal, who I've spoken to, who personally said to me, I'm not rooting against Dwight Howard. I want him to do well. I want him to accept this challenge that's gonna be on his shoulders. He's not rooting against him. So when you hear about champions really pushing you to be more than you are, at some point in time, it's incumbent upon you to embrace the challenge instead of run from it, since you're trying to pursue what they've already captured. That's what I think Dwight Howard is realizing, and that's why I believe that the chances are improving that he'll stay in L.A. But it's not definitive because Houston is no joke, and they've got money, they've got cap space, and they've got young studs to complement him. But it is a better chance that he'll stay in L.A. It's just not definitive.
Right.